It's a writing tool that's like no distraction. So like I got mine for my clients, so I don't have to look at Teams and emails and everything, get distracted while I'm talking to them.
And you can like
And
walk
so I
them
can just
through
sit there and
something
focus.
while you're doing it. Yeah, it's so good.
Yep. Yeah.
Alrighty. We got 27 in here. I'll give it another minute or two for our last two friendos. Who are our last two friendos? I will find them. I know Vorbuilds is on a plane.
Unacceptable.
Oh, and Abrix
Just
is on
tell 'em to buy the
vacation.
Wi-Fi.
Okay, so everyone's here. That's right. So the two people that are not here will not be here, unfortunately. Alrighty, gamers. So the first little bit of this meeting is just going to be us going over some guild-wide stuff, doing like, general guild meeting stuff. Then the second half of this meeting is going to be us going over the raid strategies for the first 4 mythic and the last 4 heroic. So there's no reason for us to do last 4 mythic. Liquid will come up with a better idea by the time we get there. So we're just going to let them do that. It's what they do for a living anyways, not a problem. So to start off, here's how the roster looks for next year. This is everyone that is on the roster. Please make sure right now, if you're watching my stream, which you should be, that your class is correct on this sheet. If your class is incorrect, let me know, and I will get it swapped over to whatever you're maining for this tier. I believe I got everyone right, but just let me know if there's any differences while we're looking at it. So quite a few things to go over before the start of next year. I know we have quite a few new people, a lot of returning people. We're kind of halfway in the middle. So I wanted to remind everyone of a couple of things that we do here that might be different from guilds that you guys have been in the past or guilds that, you're more familiar with. And the first thing that I want to go over is going to be loot. So we have this handy dandy little tab over here called the loot system and distribution strategy. And basically, if you want an in-depth overview of how we're doing loot, you can go into this and you can go ahead and read through it, get all the details. But essentially, our loot system is pretty much an algorithm that we calculate, which is going to allow us to know, okay, who is going to get what piece of gear. It's not actually a decision being made. We do not use a loot council. We do not use a voting system. We do not use DKP. We don't do anything like that. It is the piece of loot is in my bags and out of my bags within about 5 seconds, traded to whoever it is mathematically best for. Now, if you want information on how we decide that mathematically, like I said, this post is detailing that. I would highly recommend it. It's in the raid strategies. It's in the archive now, but it's pretty far down there. But you can take a look at that. So just know we had no loot drama this tier. Fantastic. Let's keep it that way. If you ever have a question about why a loot decision is made, go ahead and let me know. I will be releasing a full loot spreadsheet on Saturday of this week before the raid drops, so everybody in the guild can look at it, and let me know if you have any sort of issues with it. Like if you see that you are third on an item, but you feel like that you would be better for the item than someone else, let me know, and I will talk with you about why the decision is made. The other thing in this guild, if you are new here, is we are fully transparent. If you want any information, be it harsh, blunt, whatever, I will give it to you. If you want to know, hey, I'm playing the same class and spec as this guy, but he's higher than me on every single loot prio, why is that? I'll give you a detailed answer as to why he's being prioritized over you, why it's important that I feel like that he gets loot first, and what you can do to maybe change that in the future. So don't be afraid to ask any questions, and that goes into our progression. If you have a problem in progression or you see somebody else doing something wrong, bring it up. We'll talk about it. It's better to talk about everything and have questions out there than just sit on it. You're not going to be, flamed for doing something stupid or coming up with a bad question. The other thing before we get on to some more interactive stuff is that we will be raiding on Monday night at 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. CST for the first 3 weeks of the expansion. The tier. So for the first 3 weeks, Monday night, 8 p.m. CST to 11 p.m. CST, that was voted on pretty much unanimously. I can go ahead and pull up the form for you guys so you can see it. Make sure I'm not lying to you. Don't think you'd expect that I would, but here is the graph of people. We had literally nobody say no. Either people wanted both, people wanted a extra day, or they were okay with either. Nobody said they wanted an extra hour. I get that, because why add an extra hour when you can add an extra day? Now, for now, Monday seems to be the clear favorite. I was the retard who voted none on this because I clicked everything like a dumbass, but it's whatever. Nobody else did, so I'm the stupid one. But we'll be raiding Monday. If you have a problem with Monday raids, let me know. It's just for the first 3 weeks of the tier. Obviously, it's not great if you can't make those, as those will likely be mythic days only. But that's what we're looking like. Anything else I want to get into before? Oh, okay. So with the roster, we have 30 people in Mythic, or in Heroic. So Heroic is full. We have no room for helpers. There will be 0 helpers in Heroic. We have a full 30-man roster. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, hey, there's only 20 slots in Mythic. How the fuck is that going to work? Well, shocker, 10 people are going to be benched, and it's going to be rotating in and out. But we plan to have about 16 people who are in permanently. If you are in on the first boss, you will be in on all 8 bosses for those 16 people. And we will rotate 4, maybe 5, 6 people in and out depending on the boss fight, whatever it calls for. Let's say we want an extra evoker, we want an extra warrior, we want an extra paladin, whatever it may be. We'll be rotating people. I will be very forthcoming with information on what we're planning on rotating, what we're planning on being core roster, and things like that. As of now, going into every tier, I pretty much delete all of my thoughts about every player. Now, there is a little bit, maybe 5-10% of how I value you is dependent on what you did before. But in this guild, your value to the raid is all determined based off of what you're doing now. So let's say that, we have somebody, let's say Hamill is here, right? And Hamill played terrible on Ansurek, died to Whirling Dragon Punch 3,000 times and did no damage. Okay? Then
I thought this was a hypothetical.
Yeah. So then you see that going into next tier, obviously we have 30 people for Heroic. Hamill's in there. He's absolutely blasting. I'm not going to value what he did previously on Ansurek because it's just not realistic to say, oh, well, you played bad in the past, so I'm not going to put you in. That applies to everyone. If you played well in the past, it'll add a little bit, but I'm not going to take away from whatever you did previously. If you show up really well prepared on Heroic Week, being week 1, so next week, if you show up really well prepared, you know all the bosses, you do a ton of damage, you do your job, you will get gear, you will change the loot priority to your favor, and you will be put in the roster, period. So just keep that in mind. How you perform on week 1 is very important to give us information on how you're currently doing. Same for week 2, same for week 3. That doesn't mean that if you perform poorly on week 1 that you're going to be benched for the entire season. Not how that works, but just keep in mind that I have limited data to work with the few people that are not going to be, in the roster 24/7. So you have to show up whenever you are put in. Okay? Any questions on any of that before I move on? Fantastic. Okay. So now let's talk about some collaborative stuff. So I want to go over people who are going to be essentially doing all of these things. So I am going to be 21st manning this tier, and we'll get into what that means for you soon. But part of that means I can no longer do some things that were being done inside of the raid, like world markers, or some assignments, or making sure we have cauldrons and feasts, or some raid leading things like pinging, or doing an extra marker, or something like that, right? So what that means is we need to have all of these things assigned out. Now, for the first one, the assignments category here, which I've already filled in names for, all this is people who I prefer to put on assignments. These are the people that first popped in my head that I was like, okay, I like the spec they're playing for assignments, or I like the player for assignments, or a combination. Obviously, like mages and hunters are super clear. Does anyone else want to be a consistent assignment, or anyone on this list feel like that their class or spec might not be good next tier for assignments, wants to be moved off of it, doesn't want to lose that much damage, wants to just focus on themselves? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Wow, you guys are,
You could
like,
you could throw me into assignments as well.
okay, so top down. I will mark you.
Especially if it's like magic and magic damage related.
Gotcha. So nobody else wants to like be thrown onto that assignment list, and nobody on the assignment list is crying right now, correct? Great. All right. Then we've got world markers. So somebody who's going to be in the raid needs to have the world markers keybound, and whether you need to move them in the middle of the boss, which this tier there are currently Mugzee will need you to move 2 world markers every 45 seconds. I know that's so hard and terrifying. And Gallywix likely will make you move 2 world markers every 3 minutes. I know, really hard. So I need people who are just volunteering to be like, okay, yeah, I'm cool to place world markers. I'm cool to place that type of stuff. Anyone who wants to do that?
I can do world markers.
Okay, that was Vel. All right.
I mean, I also have mine set up now.
Okay, Light. And I would like one more person who's down to help with world markers if needed.
I have 6 G keys on my left-hand side.
Okay, so is that you volunteering?
Yep.
All right. The next
Just
thing,
felt like sharing.
which I actually forgot to put on here, so let me go ahead and copy this and paste it on over
Wouldn't
here.
a tank be a good backup for world markers?
Tanks are good, yes, because tanks are always in, and usually they're not doing as much over time. So I definitely think tanks are not a bad choice for it.
Yeah, you can throw me in there as well.
Okay, I will go ahead and put I will put it right here. Okay. Then I forgot ready check / pull timers. I need somebody who is going to do these every single time. Who wants to volunteer for ready checks and pull timers?
I got it.
All right, Kami.
I don't have to fight Vel and Light.
I'm also
No, we're
willing.
still gonna
I was
be.
gonna say.
We're still gonna be fighting.
So I'll just have Kami be the main ready check pull timer guy. That's great. Then for loot, obviously I'd prefer this to be an officer. I don't think anybody's going to ninja loot anything. I don't think you're stupid. But basically all it means is you're the guy that opens up RC Loot Council after the pull, and you make sure the loot goes to the right guy, and then you trade the loot to the guy.
I know how to use RC Loot Council. I can do it.
Okay, Justin, you can do it. And then I'll just put Lightyear as a backup. Then Feast. I went ahead and put Long Game and Vel on here because you guys were doing it last year. Are you guys still doing cooking and all that stuff?
I can do them, yeah.
Okay, sick. And then I would like one more person for that is just ready to do Feast. If both of them, let's say they're benched or they're out for the week. Anyone else able to do Feasts? It will be supplied. The gold will be supplied by the guild. You just have to make the damn thing.
I think I have cooking. I don't know if there's going to change anything, but I can do it.
Level 9.
All right, so Zedlock and Quizzy.
Have it.
All right, and then cauldrons. We need people to do both flask and potion cauldrons. Again, gold will be supplied by the guild bank.
Yep.
Allegedly.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I
C
can
raid.
do.
Doing TM.
I can do. I think flasks.
Okay,
I
so
can do both, so I can do whatever.
Pretty sure I can do both as well.
is that Lake?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll just go ahead and put
what
you
a
3
voice.
on here.
Ali.
And just make sure we have these every week. C-Raid, if you want to be the one doing them for now, and then let's say you play like shit, then we'll swap it if you have to be benched.
Yeah.
So just don't do that. W. Now, POVs. So on 21st Manning, I got to look at people. We will not be using Discord because of 2 reasons. 1, the quality is really bad. 2, Discord trucks your PC. We will instead be using a program known as Parsec, which basically You can tell it to just share your WoW application, so I cannot see anything else. Even if you Alt-Tab, all I see is your WoW. And I need just anyone who is willing to give me their POV. You can go ahead and speak up and download Parsec and just have it running. It's very lightweight. It doesn't really affect your performance too much, and it'll only share your WoW screen. The more, the merrier, obviously. And then I need 2 people who are willing to let me absolutely destroy their UI.
I'm down.
So
You destroyed my
Nope.
UI.
If you, so I know that you already like my UI to a large degree. Like, how much of a change would it be from what I currently have?
not
All
too much. I
cooldowns,
just put some
basically.
extra shit on the sides of your screen.
I'd be down for that.
Okay.
You can throw me in that list as well. I use Atrocity, so if you want to add
So-
something, as
Same
long as
for
you
me.
get
I
the-
don't even look at my monitor, so.
Hell, top damn winner.
Yeah, I play with my
Phenom.
monitor turned off.
A
Early in
white,
there,
I do
too.
Me
as
there
well.
too.
Or
a
pro.
white
I
screen, a widescreen monitor is probably the best option.
Nah, I just use sound cues.
Well, I was gonna offer myself.
You
but
can do
you
mine
got
too.
a lot.
I have a widescreen.
Hamel, if you want to adjust mine, like just
Okay,
know
who
that I
was
use
that? Sorry, I
Atrocity.
don't know your voice yet. Whoever that was.
Sorry, Craves.
Oh, that was Craves. Okay, fantastic.
Oh, Graves is a pretty good one. Being a range DPS is probably the best.
Craves, am I able to? I might put you as one of the main ones since you have a
Yeah.
wide monitor. Am I able to invade your UI a little bit? You already use Atrocity, so it's pretty close.
Yeah. I use Atrocity and I have ultra wide, and I don't use a lot of the sides, so you can fill that up with whatever crazy shit you want.
Okay, and who
It's
wants
really
to
the
be the
best.
person that I'm staring at the entire tier? Mostly.
What are you gonna put on the side of my screen?
You can do that to me. I don't care.
Okay, so
Alex, I
Xenon,
would volunteer. That's fine.
top
I think
damn.
you're welcome to with like everybody you said it.
Yeah, basically the only things I'm going to do is I might, if your timers are in a weird spot, I might move them. I'm probably going to ask you to put some extra timers on the sides of your screen, but everything that I'm going to put on your screen, I don't need it to be near the shit that you're actually looking at, so I'm going to put it like way off to the side because obviously I'm looking at your screen. I don't need you to have it. I don't need to see your character while I
that's
look at
fine.
it.
I mean, I'm down, but you fucking hate my UI,
I
so.
volunteer
Yeah.
too.
I
Oh.
do hate your UI. I'm going to put light.
Your UI's trash.
Oh god, that looks terrible. I'll just put you here.
You can
love
put
you,
wherever
Wade.
the fuck you want on the side of mine, but as long as I don't change my weak orders.
Okay, I'll probably put Craves as the main, and then I'll put Xenon as the secondary. Does that work for you guys?
No.
Yeah, that works.
Because I think having 2 range DPS is really good, especially since you both are doing assignments. It's easier for me to see stuff. Okay.
I need to get Parsec.
Yeah, I will. So for everyone that's on that list, I will walk you through how to download and set up Parsec before raid on Tuesday, or you can do it earlier if you want. But I'll make like a quick video guide for you guys and just send it out. It's super simple. All right, and then I need people to volunteer to be a tertiary raid lead. What does that mean? Well, when I'm 21st manning, I don't want to be sitting there. Let's say that we are pulling Ansurek for the first time, right? So for the first 20 or so P1 pulls, I'll be sitting there and I'll be raid leading. I'll be doing the job. I'll be doing the stuff. Maybe even longer than that. But right whenever we start consistently getting through P1 and now the prog point is intermission or the prog point is P2, then what I want to be doing is I want to be reviewing our previous pulls and going over what we can change for the next pull and what we can do better instead of having to stare at you guys do P1, which is now just an execution check. Or I'm reviewing P1 to try and find micro optimizations inside of it. So basically, your job as a tertiary raid lead would be during those like non-prog phases of the fight, I just want you to call exactly what I was calling that is just like needed. So for example, in Ansurek P1, you would call only one thing pretty much the entire time, which is defensives, because there's really nothing else to raid lead during that phase. But for, maybe a boss like Silken Court P1, you would have to call like rotate. You would have to call we're going to the normal side. We are wait, rotate, stuff like that. So who is willing to take up that mantle of like tertiary raid lead, just kind of, you're not going to be raid leading prog points ever. It'll just be on stuff that you've done like 100 times.
JT was already doing it, right? Like,
I did on like a couple fights.
yeah.
But it wasn't like my job or anything.
I would do that.
I was also going to say, given that I will probably not be in almost ever, I'd be down to like 22nd man.
22nd. I like that.
Okay. I would like someone that's gonna hopefully be perma in the raid as well.
I usually like to talk in raid, so I'm kind of down, I guess.
Yeah, no, yeah. Only problem with you, no offense, your accent is thick, so it might,
Thicker than a snake.
it might
I
be
can
hard
be
to
like-
tell, but I can put you
I can
down
be one
here.
of the backups. I don't know if I want to fully commit to being the main one, but I can be somewhere on that list as an option.
Okay, I'll put you as the second. If there's somebody who's not there that day, whoever is the main one, I really need somebody who's like confident that they can just make. It's not going to be much, just a few call outs in raid, and is usually going to be in.
My only hesitation is I kind of want to like be able to lock in on like my gameplay, but I'll do my best if we don't have anybody else.
And as long as I know things, I don't mind doing it too. And I've raid led in the past.
I mean, I could
Just,
try.
yeah.
I'm going to put you on
really-
a split group, which I'll explain what that means in a second.
Okay.
Put me on there too, Camel.
Okay. Crow, and then Light, you were going to say.
Yeah, I'd be down to try.
Now, which one of you wants to be like the person that does it most of the time? Like, you're not going to have to do it on early bosses almost ever. It's really just going to be the last two bosses where, let's say we're progging like the first, we're progging like P2 of Gallywix. You're going to raid lead P1 and intermission of Gallywix and just do minor callouts if I'm looking at something on the side. It won't even be every single pull. It'll just be while I'm looking at stuff, you're taking over the callouts for that pull.
Yeah, I can do that.
I would also be more
you
than happy
want.
to do that.
It probably should be a range. Should probably be one of
Bam,
these.
2 melee.
It should probably be Crow or Light.
I'll do it.
All right, Crow. You get Chad.
Yeah, Charlie does everything.
So that's basically everything I wanted to get through. I put interrupts on here. You're all gonna fucking interrupt, so it doesn't matter.
Yo, don't worry. The priest got it.
Now, going into next year, just some housekeeping things. We are using WoW Audit again. If you have not used WoW Audit before, I will go ahead and repost this YouTube video. I just posted it in Raid General. It is the WoW Audit Wishlist Guide. This is how I get your character's sims for the new tier. Keep in mind, if you do not do this properly, if let's say you equip a different piece of gear or using a different talent set, it notifies me that you've done that. Or if you have not updated your sim and you've equipped a better piece of gear, then it also notifies me that you have a better piece of gear on, and so then your sim will be invalidated. So make sure you keep it up to date. Make sure that you're doing it at the right time. I recommend doing it around 30 minutes before raid start. That way, whenever you're gearing, you don't have to think about, oh, I got to redo my sims. That's how you put it in. The wishlist guide, just look at that. It has not changed. Those are not going to be available until, again, before raid on Tuesday. So just please make sure you do that. The other thing we're also using again is Warcraft Recorder. Yes, I am 21st Manning. Yes, we're going to be using Parsec, but Warcraft Recorder is also still fantastic for your own personal reviews. And let's say that you have something that you need to go back and look at after the raid night. Warcraft Recorder is great for that. But on top of that, because I'm outside of the raid and I'm not maintaining a character, I don't have to do my 8 weekly dungeons per week. Instead of doing 8 weekly dungeons per week, I'm going to be doing a review or two per week with somebody going over their POV on a prog boss. Let's say that, Justin was struggling on Brood Twister, getting hit by the swirlies. I'm going to sit down with Justin and I'm going to review Brood Twister and we're going to see, can we fix this? What do we do? What do we do differently while we're progging the boss to try and fix problems? So that's going to be my weekly vault activity, basically. So your Warcraft Recorder POV is extremely useful to making those as valuable as they can be. highly recommend setting that up. If you need help setting it up, let me know. But otherwise, the information on it is in guild info with a guide at the very bottom. And we will be using Northern Skies Weak Aura Pack for Liberation of the Undermine. We might swap to Liquid later on. To be determined. Depends on how good Northern Sky is. So I will link that closer to raid day because it's getting changed every day. So don't go download it now. Not a good idea. We will all download it at the same time. So that way we all have the same version. Don't have to worry about mismatches. Cool?
Yes, please. No weak aura boss.
Yes, no weak aura boss, please.
We should probably use the fucking liquid aura updater, weak aura updater shit.
Yeah, we might use that. I would also recommend for people to use the Liquid Reminders app to be able to script your defensives out. It's just easier than using like a spreadsheet. So get that. If you don't have it, then just shoot a message in Raid General and somebody will give it to you. It's paywalled, but people have it. It's around.
I have it. I can set it to Raid General.
Yeah, if you just want to post it in Raid General, and if you ever need to ask about it, just ask in Raid General, say, hey, does anybody have the new Liquid Reminders or Liquid Updater? Just shoot a message to Raid General and somebody will give it to you. It's invaluable as far as scripting your defensive, scripting your damage cooldowns, which I highly recommend you doing. It'll make you a much better player. Okay.
2 questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
First one, the interrupts.
Hmm.
Is there a way we could get priority interrupts for people who gain resources from cooking?
Yeah, so you're talking Demon Hunter, DK.
Myself, Vexie, and
I think that's it.
I guess. Yeah, I think that's it too.
I think
I'm
it's
not
just
really.
you two. Yeah, but yeah, I can. Fine.
Shamans get a DR.
Shamans do get a DR, so you can put shamans on there.
And then my other question was regarding loot and WoW audit. The whole it notifies you when things get swapped around.
Yep.
Personally, and I don't know who else this applies to, but my build doesn't change until I get my tier set, which is probably going to affect how those sims go. So who do I notify about what I'm simming and when? I'm assuming I would just tell you, right?
You don't even have to go that far with talent trees. Just sim with whatever talent tree you're gonna think, you're planning on using during raid that week, and just
what
rip
I'm
that
planning
shit.
on using.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Understood.
So moving on to prep. So, like I said, we're going to be looking at the first 4 mythic bosses, and we're going to be looking at the last 4 heroic bosses. Now, for this tier, the first 4 bosses are harder than a Mugzee, but not by much. They're still quite simple. So let's go ahead and take a look. All right. So this is the instant dollars PTR testing. Keep in mind, some things may have changed from PTR testing, but we're going to start on the first boss. I know, shocking. So this is Vexie. Vexie's not currently on your screen, but she's a big-ass car. Technically, it's a bitch that's in the side of the big-ass car, but you know what I mean. She has 3 mechanics, realistically. She has a tank buster called Tank Buster. She has, every time she uses a tank buster, it drops a pool on the ground of oil. Then she has Spew Oil, which is going to put these 2 little circles out that you have to move out of the raid. We have a specific placement for these, which I'll show you momentarily, basically what they're doing right now. And then she has Call Bikers, which you pretty much ignore because of how our strat works. That's going to put a bunch of lines on the ground. You just get out of the lines and you're good. And then she has these incendiary fires, which are going to go on particular players. The number one thing with those fires is that you do not, under any circumstances, take them under these pools that are in the middle of the room. This is because whenever a biker goes through one of the pools that's in the middle of the room, it spins out, which allows you to kill it. So it stuns itself, allows it to be killed. Whenever you kill the biker, then you need to pick it up and you need to throw it into the boss. So let's see if he maybe does it here. So you see this biker right here. There's going to be some oil that you can pick up using these soaks. You soak it up. Then you can go give it to the biker. So you see that guy just gave it to the biker. Then whenever the biker is ready, this is mythic only, by the way. On heroic, they're just ready immediately. See Jundies, he just got into it and he's about to rip that shit into the boss. So you look at it go. Boom. Boss explodes, does a bunch of damage, does some good stuff, and removes protective plating. So, very simple, very easy. And how are we going to handle it? Well, I've got a one-page guide made by some random fucking guy that works perfectly. All we're going to do, we're going to start the boss right here. And the boss is going to do the first tank buster. And then we're going to get the first 2 big circles that you just saw. And the tank buster is going to go in the middle. The 2 circles are going to make kind of a wall right next to it. And then we're all going to gate. And tanks are just going to slowly move the boss this way. If you get the circles after the first one, you put it off to the sides. If you get the fire debuff, which is this incendiary fire, then you're going to go and clear the ones on the sides, or you can even clear the ones in the middle right here, just not the first 3. And that's it. Is there any questions, comments, concerns on Vexie other than intermission, which I'll get to in just a second?
Do we have like a priority for who's taking the bikes? Is
It
like
literally
melee,
it does not matter.
or it
It's
just
just
doesn't matter?
like
Okay.
literally anyone. It takes 2 seconds. You hop in it, whoop, and it gives you a little damage
Okay,
amp after
cool.
you hop out.
Fucking blast.
Yeah.
Ooh, you get a damage amp.
Yeah, if you're the one
just
that
wanna-
uses the bike, then you get like 10% haste or something.
Yeah, it's a DPS game. You should all do it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's probably gonna be whoever's closest.
Yeah,
to
whoever's
the
close
bike.
to it, just jump in that bitch. And
To be clear, I have
I'm gonna
no
be
idea if
hugging
it's
that shit.
actually a DPS game, but I can do it anyway.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I think the buff lasts like what, 5-10 seconds or some shit.
Yeah, it's like a
It's not
10-second
really-
buff.
I just want to verify that all this stuff is going to end up in a thread somewhere.
Yeah, I'm going to be putting out the raid strategy threads after the meeting, so it'll have all the information we talk about tonight will be in those raid strategy threads.
But I need to pay
Cool.
attention.
Holy shit, Kai's
Can
here.
you not see
Hi.
the raid strategy threads, Guy?
I think I do. I just memeing. Yeah.
Okay. So then Vexie goes into an intermission. If you guys remember Gnarlroot, how he didn't let you hit him and spawned a bunch of ads, flip that on its head. Now Vexie has a massive damage amp and ads at the same time. So what you get to do is absolutely blast. So what happens is after we shoot, I think it's 8 bikes on Mythic, 6 bikes on Heroic into the boss, then she's going to go into phase 2/intermission. She'll start casting Tune-Up. And whenever she starts casting this, she's going to put a bunch of swirlies on the ground, just dodge them, easy clap. Look at the beautiful new swirly animation with defined edges. Thank you, Blizzard. We love you. And now there are going to be ads slowly walking in. On Mythic, there are 2 types of ads. Let's see if we can see them. So there are these pit mechanics right here, which there are going to be tons of them. They're going to be swarming the boss. What they do is they walk up to the boss and they build up her energy bar. So you see how her energy is at 0 right now? That's that number at the bottom right corner. You see this pit mechanic gets there and he starts casting repair. Looks like this energy bar is not updating, but her energy will start going up every time they repair, and whenever she gets to 100, she goes back to phase 1 and the damage amp is gone. Sag. So you want to stay in this phase as long as you possibly can to milk the thick damage, right? So this is the first ad, and let's see if we can see the other type of ad. Okay, so it's over here. So this little like hovering turret goblin contraption, what it does is you see this circle. This is Mythic only, by the way. This circle prevents ads from being interrupted, stunned, or CC'd. So all we need to do is, for this guy, you see he's paralyzed right now. Any hard CCs being hunter traps, paralysis, literally asphyxiation, anything like that, just rip it on this motherfucker and do not let him get in. That way that we can interrupt and we can AoE CC the pit mechanics. I will maybe do an AoE CC order. I kind of don't give a fuck because it's a first boss and it'll die, but I'll probably do one at some point. And I'll just call it while we're doing it to stop the cast. But anyways, the big thing, CC these guys. Just, you see one that's walking towards the boss, you got plenty of time. They don't walk very fast. Walk out, trap it, paralysis it, banish it. I don't know what the fuck you can use on it, but just use it. And then let's say it does get in. We have like 12 evokers. Please knock the motherfucker away. That's all you got to do. Any questions on intermission?
These pit mechanics, are they grippable at all?
Damn,
yes.
I was just gonna ask.
You can do literally anything to them.
Because I'll probably just run the Gorfian Silence and...
Yeah, you can see that they
A-bomb.
currently have a Sigil of Silence on them.
Oh, I didn't... Yeah. Cool.
Important question to help with that. Also, the one we need to hard CC, is that grippable?
Yeah, that is a good question.
Yes, I would bet it is. So just don't grip that.
Be careful with them slappy hands.
Yeah. Don't let it get close enough to get slappy handed.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, if that happens, it's your fault. How
True.
about that?
True. Evoker problem.
True.
Sure. Okay.
I'm not going to be in on Mythic.
Hamel, can you go a bit back in the video to show the other ad spawning? Does it have like any indication where it's gonna spawn?
I don't know.
Isn't there 4 of them in each one in each
I believe
corner?
it spawns one in each side. So I think one spawns here, one spawns here, one spawns here every time.
Yeah, I think it's with every pack of mechanics.
Yeah,
that
every time a
spawn, there's one spawn.
mechanic spawn, then one of those big guys spawns. So eventually you're going to
got
get overrun. That's the idea. Is that you can't keep it going forever, but you just try and last as long as you
Oh,
can.
it shows the booster.
Yeah,
the
so he's
booster
like
code.
outside the arena, and then he starts walking in.
Yeah, so like hunter traps on or some shit like that, it's gonna be probably good to like put them down.
Exactly, yeah.
Also, I think the energy bar is an enrage mechanic in the normal phase, isn't it? Because I'm pretty sure the cast is what phases her out of the intermission.
Maybe our Evokers can rotate across
look, she's at 57, 63.
That'd be huge.
And I'm pretty sure if they get their cast off, they shorten her cast. Or end it immediately. I'm
So
not
yeah,
sure.
you can see
but-
this ad spawned. It got CC'd. It cannot be Ring of Peace apparently. I know it can be Evoker knockbacked, so you can just use those on it. Easy clap, GG. Ring of Peace is under the boss are great because they prevent these from casting their repair. That's all there is to it. Simple, easy, breezy, beautiful cover girl.
One quick question about the intermission.
Yep.
The pulsing damage. Do we know what the damage type of that is?
Probably fire. I don't fucking know. Doesn't matter. This boss will die in one pull, guys. Don't gotta overcomplicate it. We will walk up to
throw
this
an
boss
AFC
and
down
shit
or
down
not?
its throat. Okay. Cauldron of Carnage. So this is Big Monkey and Big T-Rex guy. I'm not making a T-Rex noise. So this is going to be split into 2 groups. So if we go over here, here are the groups. Yay! Very hard. You're going to be split into 2 groups at the start. You're going to do both sides of the boss. It's not like one group stays on one side of the boss the whole time. This is kind of like Amalgamation Chamber from Avarice, where you get a stacking dot the longer on your side, but you don't have to flip to the other side. You just flip to the other side whenever they go and hit each other's heads in the middle, which we'll look at in just a second. And there are a couple mechanics on both sides. So if we go back to this testing footage, we're starting on the lightning side over here, which is the more complicated of the two. There are a few things happening. So you see these little swirlies you have to dodge. Then whenever you get these, they're like a stutter step mechanic. Same thing on Bloodbound Horror. Whenever you get the tentacles, just stutter step with them, make it nice and easy. But at the same time, you have this mechanic. So you see this little bar. Everyone on the lightning side right now has this little bar. And what this is the more you move, the more the bar fills up. If you move and get it to 100, it nukes the entire raid and stuns you for like 60 seconds. So don't move too much and don't let the bar fill up. So you have to stutter step with these little swirlies. Easy enough. And then there is one more mechanic on this side, which is these little gorillas that are about to spawn. Let's see, they should be spawning any second now. There they are. These are fixate ads that whenever they get, they time out or die. Mainly, you're just going to look for them to time out. You can see this has like a 7.5 second duration on it. They drop a puddle on the ground. So what you want to do is you want to kite these towards the edge. Once they're at the edge, whack a CC on them. Again, hunter traps, paralysis, stuff like that. Even just like normal CCs, Hodge, anything like that. Good on these. You can rip that shit on them once they get close to the side or just out of the fucking middle. If we start having space problems, we're going to rotate the bosses counterclockwise. That means, Mr. Tanks, you will be rotating down this way, so towards this guy's frames right here. If we run into space problems, but you can see they're not very big puddles. It's not really a big deal. We're going to slowly rotate that way, and that's it. Then you're going to get the most ridiculous animation ever. I don't know what the fuck this is. Melee,
Monkey fight.
You cannot see anything melee. And there are going to be these circles and there are shockwaves. Just dodge them. And during this intermission, slowly, doesn't matter how you do it, I don't care. Just slowly make your way to the other side because you're flipping now to the other boss. So you see this guy, he's dodging, he's doing the healing thing where he like heals and shit. And he slowly makes his way to the other side. And boom, now we're on the dino side. So Mr. Florendo, he has two mechanics that are very simple. The first one is he's going to spawn this giant bomb. This bomb is baited on people, so we want to be standing near the previous fire puddles because this bomb will drop a fire puddle. So bait it near the previous fire puddles, just keep it nice and clean. And whenever he spawns it, it is a soak. Everyone on this side needs to get into it, and I will be calling bomb exploding in 3, 2, 1, and then it's going to explode. The reason why is because you can see, even though that this is on this side, if you watch the health bars, these are all the people out of range on the other side. You watch their health. Oh, wait, they also get nuked by this bomb. This is the hardest hitting ability in the entire fight. Every single time that bomb is exploding, which is around every 25 seconds-ish, make sure that you're popping something, or if you're not popping something, make sure your health is high, because it's going to hurt like a bitch, even if you're on the lightning side. After you soak this bomb, you get a very simple spread mechanic. Guess what you do with it? You spread. Shocking, I know. And then there is also a frontal. So this frontal, let's see if we can see it. There it is. She's going to spawn a bomb, and then she's going to target somebody with a frontal. You can move the frontal out right whenever you see it turn from this little like transparent beam to the solid beams. Get the fuck out of it. That means that it's locked on. Just do not put the frontal on the bomb, and we're good. That is it. Are there any questions, comments, concerns on any of those mechanics?
Also, just to add on the frontal, it's better to be on fucking melee. Like, the closer you are to boss, the easier it is to dodge. Especially, like, low movement classes.
True.
Is it an expectation that whoever gets the frontal gets back in the bomb soak?
I mean, if you can,
Yes.
you can. If you can't, you can't. It doesn't really matter.
You should always be able to get back into it, but the guy who did it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the most important thing in the world to get back into it. It's just...
I mean, it still reduces the raid damage.
Yeah,
it's really easy to do it as well.
When they clash in the middle and you're getting ready to swap sides, is there any... Now, obviously, you don't stand, like, right in the middle of them, but there's no penalty for, like, kind of being in the middle to hit both at the same time, right?
No, so you can...
I don't think so.
You can
It's
stand
just, like,
literally
you just
wherever
take
you
raid
want.
by damage.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can stand wherever you want. It's actually easier to dodge the waves if you're right under the boss, but you can't see anything because the mechanic,
that's what I was thinking.
The visual is fucking ridiculous. So
It's so cool.
It's
so cool.
It is
They
cool, but it's
don't-
absurd.
Yeah, and the ways they don't have like they don't show you where they're gonna spawn. Just like they just spawn and they spawn randomly across the boss stage. So you gotta be careful with that.
Yep.
Gotcha.
All right. So
waves and throwaways.
Now let's talk about the mythic mechanic, aka the hunter mechanic. Yay!
Yeah, the hunter. Yeah, for
Yay! So I'm gonna swap POVs here. We're actually gonna go watch Setlock on this boss.
Yo, what?
Banshers. Cauldron of Carnage. So Banshers. Liberation of the Undermine. I spelled that perfectly.
Libneration of Undermine.
COC.
Banshers. Here he is, for the love of God. That is impossible to find. Here it is. Okay. So, the mythic mechanic is really weird. So, as you can see, Light and Zetlock are both being cringe right now. The mythic mechanic are these little toys, and we're going to have probably both hunters, being Lake and Xenon, and maybe I'll assign a mage to it for fun. Maybe both mages will do this, but there are these little toys on both sides. There's little baby dinos and little baby big guys, big gorillas, and you have to go and kick them by running into them. You run into it, it does a little bit of damage to you, and then he's turtling right now, so don't worry about that. Then what you're trying to do is you're trying to kick the gorillas into the dinos. So you guys get them towards the middle, and then I will call, okay, kick a toy in 3, 2, 1, and then you'll see these two run into each other, and then they explode. Boom, they just exploded, did a little bit of raid damage, right? So we don't want to do them all at the same time. We will just do them one by one, and toy 1 through 5 will be determined by closest to entrance, furthest from entrance. So the closer towards the entrance relative to the minimap is right here. If you can see my mouse, I'm assuming you can. And the exit is over here, or not the exit, but the back of the room. So we're going entrance to the back of the room. Simple, easy, breezy, beautiful. Cover girl. Does that make sense for the toy kickers? You guys got that? Awesome. You don't actually have to be very accurate with it, by the way. If they're within like a larger radius than this soak, then they run into each other and they explode. You don't have to be like precise. You don't have to be like fucking messy.
I'm just kicking my monkeys into his dinosaurs.
So as a
pretty
practice,
much.
they're gonna need to play axe ball for a couple of games before raid.
Dude, Hackball had a
get those
purpose the whole time.
angles.
Just one thing, Hamel. I don't know if you
There's
if
wax
you wanna
on,
do
wax
this,
off.
but the little gorillas and the little dinosaurs they spawn randomly. So to not make the hunter have to fucking run a marathon every pull, like whoever's closest, just kick it closer to the person assigned to it.
Yeah,
what
that's fine.
we did pretty much on those pulls.
If you see one that's right next to you that's all the way against the wall and it's not close to the middle, then you can go ahead and kick it towards the middle of the room just to make it easier.
Also, there's no like extra action button. It's just like you run to it. You're gonna kick it.
So here is the raid plan for this. It's, again, super simple. This raid plan, again, second boss, it's going to die in like 2 pulls, but it just says exactly what I just said. So we're going to slowly rotate around the room. If we have space problems, you want to try and get these guys to the side. Melee should be stacking together and moving together so you don't cause Vietnam situation inside of melee. Make sure you're soaking, you move away. Boom, 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 easy clap. You spread with the circles. Then you go ahead and kick the toys to the middle. You kick them slowly. If you're, let's say that like this hunter is not very close, he's kicking this one right now, then maybe like this range can go and kick this one a little bit closer. Just make sure that you don't pop them early. And if we don't have much space, then we're just slowly going to rotate around. Cool. Alrighty.
You need to kill those guys at the same time, right?
Yes, they need to die at the same time.
Okay.
So
Do they don't share health?
they do not share health.
Nope.
No.
Okay.
Nope.
Alrighty, now we get into the more interesting bosses. So Mythic Rik Reverb.
But this boss is a pain.
It is a bit of a weird boss, but it makes a lot of sense whenever you have a good strat for it. And actually, I quite like a sort of combo between what Instant Dollars is doing in this VOD and what Consequence did in their PTR testing. I think both of those strats are good. So basically how this fight works is there's one primary mechanic you need to know that is the biggest thing in the whole fight, is he's going to drop these amplifiers. There are 2 ways that he drops these amplifiers on the ground. There are these little totem poles that you can see right here. You can see he just spawned this little totem. That is now there for a long time. So those amplifiers have 2 ways to spawn. A, what you just saw, where he jumps up in the air and he like splats down and he poops one out of his butt. Or it will bait on ranged. So in this VOD, for example, if I pull up my pin, you can see that they have their range because they know the tank drop is first. They didn't have to worry about the first one. They have their range pre-positioned on a marker back here so that they will just go ahead and bait the next one, and the tanks are moving this guy to the next marker that they want to drop on. Okay? So that's what happens. I will show you what markers we'll be using, where you'll be going in just a second. It's extremely simple. Basically, range, you guys are literally just going to do this. You're going to be standing here, and then guess what? You're going to go there. And then guess what? You're going to go there. And you just kind of go zigzag across the field. That's it. And for melee, you attach yourself to the ass of the boss, and the boss is going to do the same thing, just inverted from range. So like he's right here right now. He would go right here because range are baiting here. Range would be going back here because, and then boss would go this way. I will show you that in the raid plan. Don't worry about that too much right now. Now, the other mechanic is that these amplifiers actually have this little energy bar. So you see they have a shield on it right now, and it has this yellow energy bar. So this energy can be sucked out of the amplifier by somebody clicking on it. And shocker, if you click on it, it puts a dot on you for however long you soak the energy from it. So in this particular VOD, this is on Mythic. So there's one additional thing with these amplifiers. You're going to see in just a second, ignore everything else on your screen right now. We're only focused on the amplifier. You're going to see these little circles. These circles go on random players, preferring range. And what you have to do is touch somebody else with the circle to get rid of them. But you don't want to do that immediately because 2 of you guys need to go. So see, these guys just touched. They were actually trying to go over to this amplifier. But on Mythic, these amplifiers have a shield. And to get rid of the shield, 2 people with these debuff, you're about to see them do it right here, need to bounce off of each other within the range of the amplifier. You can see that this amplifier no longer has the shield. So very good, very Gucci. Now the shield is gone and it can be clicked on. The reason why you need to click on them to reduce their energy, if they reach 100 energy, you wipe, you die. So you see this one is getting very high. It's doing a shitload of damage to the raid, and then they just have kind of weird strat where they had 3 people click on it. We're not doing that. We're basically using their positionings and consequences clicking strategy. I like mixing those two. So the other mechanics that are in this fight, he's going to spawn these little ads, and they start casting Grand Finale. And they just need to die before the Grand Finale gets off. I do not believe they are grippable. I believe they are rooted in place.
No, they're not. Yeah, they're rooted, and we gotta really be careful with the ads because the cast is kind of quick.
Yep.
And sometimes, like, you have a chance that they don't spawn like really close together. So
Correct.
you really gotta hard focus them.
So just nuke those ads down. This amplifier placement is super cursed, by the way. Just ignore it. And then the only other mechanic to be wary of are some dodges. So we saw these little pulses. Let me see if I can find them again. We can talk about the frontal first. So this little frontal, the sound cannon, is going to be targeted on a player. And it is going to move with them, and it has to be soaked. So what we're going to do with this is very simple. All of the range should be stacked on each other because they're baiting the next amplifier, right? So like previously we knew that the range were sitting over here on blue. So we're just going to point it to wherever range you're currently stacked at, which should always be diagonal across from where you currently are. So if the boss is here, it should always be diagonal to the next marker. If the boss is here, it's always diagonal to the next marker. So you just point that towards the range. All the range will soak it, and all the melee will soak it. And you just soak the motherfucker. That's it. Boom. Done. Easy. It used to apply a vuln. The vuln has since disappeared from the dungeon journal. If there is a vuln, then the only thing we'll do is we will just have half the raid walk out of one, and the other half will stay in. Easy, simple, not hard. And then there are also going to be all these pulsing little circles on the ground that are a little bit hard to see, especially compared to the new swirly animations. So, like, if you see them soon, TM, let's just go to the intermission. So these little circles right here, they are very scary because if you get hit by too many of these, you get mind controlled and you die. Okay, let's look at intermission.
The mind control is based on what health percentage you're at when you get hit by it. I think it's like anything below 70, you get mind controlled.
Yeah, unless they change 70%.
So here is the intermission.
That's for the laser.
And one very important thing to know inside of this intermission, you see right whenever he transitions. Okay, so he's transitioning to the intermission. Right whenever he finishes his cast, SoundCloud, he now has a 99% DR. Very fun, I know. The reason why he has a 99% DR is because Blizzard could not figure out a way to do this intermission while melee could hit the boss. So he has a 99% DR. So your only job during this intermission is to dodge these shitters on the ground, and you have to make your way to whatever amplifier is going to explode. So the first amplifier selected, you have to get inside of it. So Banchers is lost right now. He can't find his way. And then it's going to hop you. And then you have to make your way to the next amplifier. Now, how do you know which amplifier is going to be next? Well, there's actually a pattern to it. It chooses the next highest energy. So you can see that this one to the left is slightly higher. It's off the screen right now, but it's slightly higher than the other one. So while you're in midair, Make sure you're scanning the amplifiers. This one under his frames is actually the highest. And then you can go ahead and move over to it. It's the next one to explode. Which one will be next? You get jumped up, you're scanning. Or remember, you can't hit the boss. That one was highest, so you move to it. You're dodging. Make sure you don't get hit while you're waiting to be popped. And you just do this over and over again. We'll be using movement CDs. Again, you cannot hit the boss during this. Do not try to hit the boss. It is not worth it. You will do 10 damage. Now you can hit the boss, and now we go back into the same phase. Any questions on intermission?
I just wanted to quickly note it was the beam. If you get hit by the beam and you're lower than 70%, I think is what you get.
The sound waves as well.
It's both.
Yeah,
It's
it's
both.
both.
Also, just to add to what Hamill said, it doesn't matter if like all amplifiers were at like 0 energy by the start of the intermission. He just gives like a energy buff to them, and they just go straight to 100.
Correct. Yeah. Okay. Now let's talk specifics. So if we go over here to Rik Reverb, how we're going to be clicking and getting rid of the energy on the amplifiers is we're going to have an odd group and an even group. The people that are inside of those odds and even groups, what's going to happen is I'm going to say odds click. And then you go click whatever one you're assigned to. Your assignment never changes. So Xenon will be orange for the entire fight. If there's an amplifier on orange and he hears the words odds click, then he's going to go and click on the amplifier that is on orange. Very simple. If you hear evens click, the same applies. Zetlock will go click on the one that's on orange. He never has to guess which one he's going to go to. It's always going to be the one on orange. The only thing you need to keep in mind is if we actually go back to the beginning of this VOD, you saw Banchers made a mistake because he's terrible at the game. Banchers actually nice. I like him, but don't roast Banchers. He goes and he tries to click on his amplifier. So this is his amplifier right here. This is the wrong fucking VOD. I'm stupid. He goes to click on his amplifier, which is this first one. So he hears odds click, right? And so he's going before this gets to 100 energy, and he clicks on it. You see it gives him this dot, but he's not watching this amplification cast. What this amplification is he's going to drop the next pillar. And the problem is that he is still next to this pillar right before this amplification cast goes off. So he actually needed to either click it a little bit earlier, or he needed to leave a little bit earlier and not drain all the energy. So he actually baits the next amplifier. Not the end of the world, but we don't want that to happen. Just make sure if you're clicking that you watch whenever the next amplifier is dropping, and don't be near it if you're ranged. If you're melee, it doesn't matter because you guys don't bait one. It's just on the boss's ass. So for our strat,
Also, be very careful with the drain, because if you're like at high stacks, it fucking hits like a truck.
Yep. And it applies a lingering dot to you, so just be advised.
Yeah.
So
you can actually get like almost one shot if you're like at high stacks and you're trying to drain.
Very simple here. We will be starting on orange. We'll be starting on orange. Range, you will start here. Then the tanks will drag the boss to purple. And then range, you're going to move your way over here, and we're going to cross over. I might actually flip this before because of the timers. If the timers are different, then we're just going to do this with the boss, and range, we're just going to do this. And then we go into intermission. Clickers, you will click at the times that I call for you to. It's very simple, very easy, breezy, beautiful cover girl. Whenever we start in P2, every time he does the intermission, he leaves an amplifier on the ground. It is technically not random. It is technically whatever amplifier has the highest energy going into intermission will be left on the ground. But we're not actually going to be like, we're not going to be micromanaging that. But essentially, we're just going to create the same pattern, but we're going to add one here, and then we're going to add one here. So easy enough. That just means that we have an additional marker that'll be put down. So we have this one over here. For this one, we have this one right here. There you go. Done. Very simple. For our clickers, we have Xenon, Vincent, Craves, Lanthelin, Budos, Quizzy, and Winter are going to be our odd group. And for evens, it's Zetlock, Lake, Yoru, Crow, Longname. This may change, but this is what I'm thinking right now. Pending Heroic Week 1. But you guys will be clicking on Heroic as well. So just keep that in mind. On Heroic, you're going to be clicking no matter what. On Mythic, might change, but probably the same people. You just walk up, you right click on it whenever I call you to, and that's it. Any questions, comments, concerns on Rik Reverb?
So why there's even an odds? Just a question like that.
Why are there even an odds?
Yeah.
Because it applies a lingering dot to you, and there's not enough time for the dot to fall off before they need to be clicked again, and you don't want to take extra stacks of the dot.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay.
Unless I'm mistaken, is my job as melee literally to follow this boss around and smack him until the intermission?
Yes.
Pretty much.
Fantastic.
If you were not assigned to click, your job is to stack as melee, you stack on the boss's ass. As range, you stack with the other range, where they all seem to be going, because probably you'll hive mind to the right spot. So
you just need to bait the frontal. That's it.
Yep. And you'll only have to like White said, you'll only have to move the frontal if you get it and put it on top of the range. That's it. Okay, we're swapping to heroic now. We will not be talking about Sprocketmonger Mythic. This is heroic only. This boss looks like a clusterfuck. It is not. Actually, sorry, we'll talk about Stix first. Stix Bunxjunker. This boss is extremely simple, but this boss is entirely personal responsibility. So I need everyone in this call right now to understand this mechanic fully before we move on, because this is where we can save the most pools by you guys understanding this mechanic before we ever do it. So how this boss works is he will reset the room every time he reaches 100 energy. So you see, he starts the fight at 50 energy. You get to just hit him. He's going to do some damage to you. Then once he gets to 100 energy, he's going to reset the room. Now, what does that mean, reset the room? He's going to put all these little pieces of trash all around. So you see all of these pieces of trash respawning. Don't stand on them. And on Mythic, I believe this is on Heroic as well. He's going to spawn all these little pieces of trash. And whenever he reaches 100 energy, he's going to spawn these crabs. These crabs, these territorial bombshells, are the #1 priority every single time. So what we'll be doing is you have to get them to 80% HP, and then they will jump off the trash that they're on, and then they're gripped by Kami or top down. They grip
I thought
into
it was
the boss.
70.
Might be 70 or 80. It's been changed a couple times. So, but basically hit it until it's down to 70% or 80% HP, and then it gets gripped into the boss by the Death Knights, and you kill it. And these need to die very, very fast. The reason why is now you're going to see some ads spawn. These ads need to die over time, but you don't really have to worry about them, and I'll show you why in a second. I'm going to skip forward until this guy gets a ball. Get balled, please. Can we get a ball? Can we get a ball, please? Can we get a ball? Can we get a ball, please? There we go. Okay. So he selects 4 or 3 random players and the tank to get these balls. And what these balls do is you are now rolling a ball. You see this guy is already running out, and you have a job. You have to get your ball to become bigger. And how you do that is by rolling over one of 2 things. A, these small trash piles right here. Or you can also roll over ads. If you roll over ads, you pick them up inside of your ball, and you can move them around. Now, why do you need to make your ball bigger? Is because there are 3 ball sizes. There's small, there's medium, and then there's large. A large ball can destroy this bomb here. This bomb has a timer on it. Whenever it gets all the way through, it wipes the raid. So there are going to be 3 of these every single time, I believe, as long as it stays consistent from testing. So there'll be 1 over here, there'll be 2 over here, and there'll be 1 over here. So you'll have bomb 1, 2, 3. We'll have markers that'll be on these sides of the room. You'll have a weak aura, which is going to yell at you. And it's going to say, hey, go to triangle. And that means that you're soaking the bomb that's on triangle. How you get there doesn't really matter. So what you're going to see is he's going to run over these small trash piles. until his ball becomes medium-sized. Boom, his ball is now medium. Very important, whenever your ball becomes medium, now you're allowed to soak these large trash piles. So what you need to do is after your ball becomes medium, you should stop soaking these small ones if you can avoid them, to allow this guy right here, who's not big and cannot soak these, to be able to grab small trash piles. Okay? So if you become medium, focus on getting large trash piles next so that the guys who are still small can grab all of these, and that way they don't have a problem getting to medium. So this guy gets medium here. You see he turns around and he goes ahead and grabs all the big trash packs, avoiding the bomb. And then he becomes large. There you go. Now he's large, and he crashes into the boss. For our purposes, you are going to be crashing into the bombs unless you're the tank. The tank, your job is to run over all of the ads and collect every single ad in the fight, and then roll it into the boss. And what that'll do is it'll kill half the ads, and it'll put all the other ads on the ass of the boss. But for everyone who has a ball, do not run over these crabs. If you run over a crab, you get knocked off of your ball and it's gone. So that's very bad because we need all of them to either do, you saw they rolled the balls into the boss and he took like 10% boss health. So that's like the primary damage in the entire fight, is doing like 10% boss health through a ball. Or to get rid of the raid wipe mechanic of the bomb that's like over there on star, right? So
those
go ahead.
So those ads that get sucked in, I also think get a damage amp on them once they get right into the boss.
Correct, yes. So whenever they get sucked in, they drop all on top of the boss, and you get a damage amp to nuke them. So as the tank, you and Abrix, you guys will be on ad collecting duty. Everyone else, you guys are on trash collecting duty and bomb duty. So if you see a bomb, I don't give a fuck what the weak aura tells you, honestly, because it doesn't really matter. You have tons of time to do it. Just get to big by, once you get to medium, stop soaking the small trash piles, start soaking the big ones, and do not run over a crab. Get to large, eat a bomb. If there are no bombs around, make sure you double check, run into the boss for all the DPS and healers. Does that make sense?
2 questions. First of all, when you are breaking the territorial bombshells off the trash piles, should melee leave the boss to go hit them, or should they wait to get pulled in? Or like should like ranged break them off, and then when they go to the boss, then start hitting them?
So with our current comp, this might change by the time we make it to Mythic, and I'll let you know if it does. With our current comp, range should be able to knock them off and they get gripped in before melee leaves. So because we have so many ranged, range will hard swap and melee can stay on the boss, and then they'll get gripped in, and now melee, you nuke them down.
I mean, ideally the boss should be on one though, right?
Correct. Yeah, ideally the boss is standing on one.
And then second question, if you're rolling the ball around and you run over a player, does it do anything?
It stuns them.
Yes.
It knocks them back and does damage.
So you do not want to
try to avoid that.
It's honestly, I feel it's like the player's responsibility, not like the dude on the ball.
Yes.
Because you're gonna have to go onto the trash, and if the dude is on the trash, it's his fault.
Yep.
I had a quick question about the ball mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
Was the person we were following was going very quickly? Is the ball making them faster?
Yes,
or
it
yeah,
forces
okay,
you to
on
move
the
forward.
ball itself.
So
They're on the ball itself. Okay, that makes sense.
Yep. So the ball forces you to move forward constantly, so you have to constantly be turning, and you see he's dodging the crabs. If you hit the crab, you lose your ball. And it's basically like, you just wiped the raid solo, go fuck yourself. So don't run into a crab.
What if you run into the wall? Does it stop you if you run into the wall? Okay.
Also, the ball does not do like a hard 90-degree turn, so you have to be careful with turning it.
If you want to, honestly, the ball kind of acts similar to the car if you don't press the drift button. So you could kind of use the car as a test for the ball. It acts pretty similar. So you see that guy ran into the wall, he just bounced off it.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's how that works. Now, there's one other mechanic that you need to be aware of, which is these little pieces of fire that go out. You're going to get these and you have to spread. But do not, under any circumstances, put this little circle over one of the trash piles because then it lights it on fire, it prevents it from being picked up by the balls, and it puts area denial on the ground and starts pulsing raid damage. Extremely bad. Terrible. Do not do it. Just make sure that you are spreading away from trash piles. And we're generally going to keep the raid. You guys are always going to be close to like an open space so that it's easier for the trash people to be able to juke around the crabs and juke around all the shit that's on the ground and juke around players to be able to get here. Ideally, what will end up happening is we'll actually have the boss right here. And the whole raid will be like right here against the wall, right? That way that the trash people can just come in and they can just slam the boss without having to worry about running you over. Because let's say that you're casting your Chaos Bolt and you're right at 2 seconds on the cast and then you get run over by a ball, you're going to break your fucking keyboard. So we don't want that to happen. But all you have to understand in this fight is kill ad, if ad exists, and if get ball, run over trash. When medium, no run over small trash, run over big trash. When big, if me no tank and me see bomb, me go eat bomb. Okay?
So there's not. You get the trash more than you get the bombs, right? Like there won't always be a bomb. Is that correct?
So yes, there will be more balls than there are bombs always.
Okay. Obviously,
so, like,
double check for that. I'm just saying, don't freak out if you just like can't find one.
Yep.
Because it was changed from testing, is the first one gives you 1 bomb, the second one gives you 2 bombs, the third one gives you 3 bombs, and then it goes to enrage. So, but you should always, bombs are #1 priority. Unless you're the tank, you are picking up all the ads and running it under the boss. Do not pick up all the ads as a tank and then run over a bomb, because then you're going to put the ads in absolute Antarctica. Would not be fun. So
also, do the fire trash piles occur happen naturally, or is it only from the fire spread?
I think it's only from the fire spread.
It happens. He burns 1 piece of trash every now and
Oh
then.
yeah, true.
So this is the chart of what you're going to be doing. You're a small ball. You run over small trash. You can run over the hyenas. As a tank, you cannot run over the big ads, being the scrap masters, which are the important ones, until you run over the get to a medium ball. So it's small ball, pick up small trash. If you're a tank, you're focusing hyenas, then small trash. If you're not a tank, ignore the hyenas. If you roll over them, it's not a big deal, but just ignore them. Once you're medium as a tank, you're picking up the scrap masters, then medium trash. As a non-tank, you're picking up medium trash. Once you're a large ball, you look for a bomb first. If no bomb, you run into Stix. Unless you're a tank, you run into Stix. Make sense?
Also, I don't know if they changed it, but the Scrap Master hurts so fucking much.
Yes.
The cast they do is like, what, 12 million damage or some shit?
Yep.
Yeah, it's like a 1-shot on Mythic, I think.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Few questions.
Everybody has to get those, I think.
First question is mostly for the tank that gets it, but also I guess it could apply to any melee that get it. Is there a grace period between getting targeted and getting moving so that you're not stunning players and you have a second to get out?
Yeah, you have like a rectangle above your head.
Lightning cast.
Here, let's watch him get this. So if you see him whenever he gets this ball, there it is. So he'll start casting this lightning cast, and you'll see Stix selects you to become a rolling rubbish. And you have until this cast finishes. So you see he knows. Now it's ball.
Yeah, okay.
So you have plenty of time to get out. Whenever you get targeted with a ball, immediately start running out. There is going to be a weak aura, and it will tell you a quadrant of the room to walk out to. All that's telling you to do, for our purposes, it's not telling you what bomb to get. All it's telling you to do is to walk out to that area and start there to start picking up trash. So hopefully you're not all stacked on each other and all soaking the same trash piles. Make sense?
Yeah. And then my second question was, will there ever be a point in the fight or a health percentage of the fight where we just say, fuck the bombs, blow the boss up?
Yeah, in theory. Like, there may be a point where the boss is sub 10%, and I would just ask everyone to run their balls into the boss, because I believe every ball does 5% boss health.
Five or
5%.
1 point. I think it's 1.5%.
Like every ball combined would do 5%. Sorry,
Oh.
I said that weird.
Oh, okay. I was like, holy shit, that's a lot of fucking damage.
Yeah,
that
it
would be
does.
pretty crazy.
All right, cool. Moving on to Sprocketmonger Lockenstock.
This is a boss I'm really excited for.
Nah, he's fucking annoying.
So, like I said, we are going to be. Let me actually swap to Banter's POV for heroic, because we will not be doing Rik Reverb.
I'm assuming the bombs are fire damage.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, they are.
So,
I'm living my life.
Sprocketmonger. This boss looks really scary. The reason it looks really scary is because there's a lot of shit on your screen in a small room. Here's what you need to know. Conveyor belts, okay? The actual belt itself moves you. Generally, just don't stand on it. There's no point to. If you're on the edge of the conveyor belt, then you are not being pushed and you're not being hit by another mechanic, which I will show you later. So edge of conveyor belt, very good. How this fight works is it will be moving area denial through the room. And it is predetermined. Everything in this fight is scripted. Think Silken Court. Okay, actually, this fight is very similar to Silken Court because there's also going to be two teams that if you run into each other, you don't die immediately, but you do bounce off each other and do a fuckload of damage to each other. But you don't die. And the mythic mechanic, that's the mythic mechanic, by the way. And also the other part of the mythic mechanic, if you're curious, is every 30 seconds, he changes everybody's teams and randomizes you. So you have to like, it's like what Silken Court should have been and way more interesting. Okay, so every single 30 seconds, he's going to be blocking off a side of the room, and it's predetermined. So before the first intermission, it's going to do this. Second intermission, it'll do this. Third intermission, it'll do this. You'll eventually get it. You don't really have to worry about memorizing this right now. If you want to be a Giga Chad, you can memorize it beforehand, so you kind of know where you're going. If not, the only ones who really need to know this are tanks, because you need to pre-move the boss, so the entire raid doesn't get nuked whenever he changes the spot. This is the entrance right here, by the way. This is the exit.
Yeah.
This is the back wall.
The electricity has a grace period.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. Let's do this one mechanic at a time. So you don't want to be on this center conveyor belt, because this is this one right here, because this one is actually, this is a hole, and this is also a hole. So if you run into them, you don't die, but you take like 50% of your health and you get knocked out of it. So don't run into that. That's actually a hole. Just keep that in mind. And the primary mechanic that you're going to have to worry about, most mechanics in this fight are just dodge. That's pretty much it. There's like 20 mechanics in this fight that are just like, hey, dodge this. But there are these mechanics which are coming out now, called the Foot Blastas. These are bombs that he's going to put on the ground, and he puts this little indicator. We're going to have a marker on every single bomb, just like this. And this first bomb is going to be soaked instantly. So you're going to walk into this bomb, just like this guy does. This one's soaked by a tank. We might actually have the first one be soaked by a tank. I kind of don't give a fuck, and I didn't assign a tank to it because I don't care. But it doesn't do enough damage to matter. So probably just going to keep our soak assignments for now. And that one will be soaked, and then it puts a little Vuln on you, as you can see right here. You can see this Vuln. Now it's off. Then we will soak the second one. It'll be assigned. You see the Vuln. And then we're going to soak the third one. You see this guy runs out. He soaks it. And then we're going to let the fourth one expire. On heroic, just keep in mind this is heroic. We're going to let the fourth one expire. So that one's going to blow up. And then he is going to make you move across the room. Tanks, you guys have a range mechanic just like on Smolderon to deal with. You get hit by the tank buster, you got to run out, then run back in. So he is blowing that up, and then you get these lines. And while these lines are out, we're moving because he is flipping the room and denying this side. Keep in mind, he also denies the conveyor belts most of the time whenever he's doing some of these mechanics. So you see this is currently stacked up. You can't go on it. and we're making our way to the other side. You see the range have already made their way over there after the lightning is dropped. Very good. And then this lightning is spawning. He spawns it, and now we're on the other side. The other mechanic to be wary of is called screw up. There are 2 ways to handle screw up. A, you can go stand on the conveyor belt. Let me show you what it does first. So just like the tentacles on Bloodbound Horror, you get it, you get targeted with it, and then it spawns 3 circles on you. So you see 1, 2, 3, boom, and it spawns these little screws that stay there for a long, long, long time. So ideally, we get them out of where we're trying to go. Now, if you're a Giga Chad, remember this image. If you memorize this image, you'll know where we're going next and where not to put them. But in general, please do not put them in the middle of the room. Instead, put them on the sides of the room, just like this guy did. There are 2 ways to do it. Either you can do it manually like this guy did, or you can actually stand on the conveyor belt if you're ranged. So let's say you go stand on this conveyor belt right here, and it will automatically move you so you can continue casting and not have to move at all without getting hit. You can do either or. It's up to you. If you're ranged, I recommend standing on the conveyor belt. If you're a melee, it doesn't really matter. It's probably better to just not go that far and just sit right here. So just put them on the sides, easy enough. And then he's just going to spawn a bunch of dodges. He's going to do the tank range mechanic. He's going to do the lines that he did. Now we're getting the next wire transfer, and he's spawning the bombs again. So we have people assigned to soak these bombs. You see 1, Vuln, 2, Vuln, Xenon, Vuln, and then we go. Now he's going to do wire transfer 1 more time. He's also going to activate these magnets, which suck you in slowly. Just don't get sucked into them. It's big sad. And then we get towards the intermission after 1 more bomb set. Make sure you're putting these screw ups. And what's going to happen is he's going to cast beta launch, and he is going to beta launch you into this corner. We're going to have a gate here, just like this. And what's going to happen is you have a choice to make. This is up to you. If you're melee, you're taking this gate. You don't have a choice. Okay. If you are ranged and you are faster, let's say you're a mage or you're a hunter or even maybe warlocks with Burning Rush, just not priests, basically. You can walk down this middle line, and you can, instead of taking this gate, you can just walk along this red thing right here. You won't be getting hit by this, and you don't have to fight the conveyor belt. You can just walk along the red.
Like, that's where we're doing it.
For everyone else, you guys walk along, you walk along the edge of the conveyor belt right here, so you're not getting hit. And then you make your way to the boss and you start beating the fuck out of him. That's the intermission.
Be careful with the middle of the conveyor belt, since I think on the intermission, I don't know if it's myth only or heroic, he puts like fire traps.
Yeah, he does.
The conveyor belt.
That's why you want to be on the sides and not on the middle. 1, you don't want to be on the middle because then it's constantly shoving you. But 2, he can spawn nasties on the middle one. He does not spawn it on the sides as far as I know, unless they change it. But still, just walk along the edge of it. Melee, you can walk along the inner edge of it. That's also safe. Anytime you're on the edge of these, it's perfectly safe. So that's the intermission. And then he just does the same thing over and over again in the final phase. So once he gets below, I think it's 35%, he will phase, and then he will just upgrade all of his weapons that he's throwing around the room, which basically there's a weapon that's a laser beam, there's a weapon that spawns swirlies, and there's a weapon that sucks you in. You can learn those if you want to. There's also a weapon that throws rockets around the room that are just dodges. Basically, what all of those come down to is just dodge. The only real mechanic in this fight, other than dodging, is moving to the next section and the bombs, and then gating and intermission. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns on this fight as we've talked about it so far? Good. I love to hear that. That means I did a good job. Okay. Who are doing the bombs, you might ask? Great question, Xenon. It's you. But so bomb set 1 is going to be Fast, Lanthal, and Craves. Bomb set 2 is Justin, Light, Vincent. Bomb set 3 is Xenon, Lake, and Yoru. If you are a melee, obviously you're doing a bomb that's on the boss, so don't go crying. It's fine. The bomb's going to be right on the boss.
I can get the one on the boss every time.
Yeah, you could if you want to. I mean, we could do that. I don't care. I'm just trying to get people practice on it for Mythic, because on
Yeah.
Mythic you won't be able to.
Yeah, you get the debuff.
So
I think you can do 2 if you pop a CD.
You get the debuff on heroic too.
Yeah, but the debuff does so much more damage on Mythic.
Yeah.
So
I think it's livable at
Hey,
2
Brex
stacks.
Bubble Angle.
On
But yeah, we'll
heroic.
just do it like this. If you were the first bomb, it says your marker next to your name right here. And all you do is you see he spawns the bomb, and you saw how it had those little circles that showed you where they were going to spawn originally. Let me go back. So you see these little indicator circles. If you were bomb number 1, you go ahead and pre-stand in the indicator circle. That way, right whenever it spawns, just like this guy spawned, he's pre-standing. He was a little late because he's a tank and he's fat. Boom, it explodes, and we're instantly into the Vuln. And then right when that Vuln's gone, bomb number 2 goes. Right when that Vuln gone, bomb number 3 goes. Easy. I mean, it's really not complex. So these are our bomb soakers. Have fun, guys. Love you. Thanks.
Are we gonna have backup for
Nope.
bomb soaking?
If you die on heroic, yeah, you're kicked out of the guild. So
Red dog it.
Yep. If somebody dies, I'll just call somebody to do it.
That's what I thought you were gonna do.
Yeah, I mean, there's 20 of us. It shouldn't be
And
that
the
hard.
tank buster, I don't think leaves an area of denial. Does just smolder on.
Yeah, no, it doesn't leave area denial. It just is a
Bet.
range mechanic.
Imagine. Holy.
All right, fantastic. So really, Sprocketmonger looks very scary. It's scripted though, and you just have to dodge while doing the bombs. So Mythic, another story. Don't worry about it for now. Liquid will do it for you. Now, One-Armed Bandit. This boss is really...
He's fun.
This boss...
You like gambling?
Basically seems like it's missing something. Which you're going to see what I mean. So, if we go ahead and look at One-Armed Bandit, he is kind of like your Kaiveza, but now we're getting into, there are 2 bosses this tier, maybe 3 with Gallywix, but 2 primarily, being both One-Armed Bandit and Mugzee, where the damage you do before the boss hits 40% does not matter at all. It does not change phase timers. It does not change the damage check. It does not change anything. So any of the damage you do before 40% on One-Armed Bandit or Mugzee does not matter. I don't know why they did that. It's strange, but it's unique, so I'm down. That's why Arms Warrior is going to be very good this tier, obviously, because everybody knows Arms Warrior presses the execute button very good. Not because Arms Warrior is simming high, but execute very good. So what One-Armed Bandit does is a couple things. First, there are these pay lines. He's going to roll these coins. It kind of looks like a Kaiveza Massacre right now. I'm sure this animation has changed. I'd be shocked if it's the same animation, but it's going to be some sort of line like this. And he's going to roll a coin out. I probably shouldn't even tell you this, but if you stand in the line and then dodge out of it, you get a 15% haste buff for dodging, called high stakes. But it one-shots you. So don't do it unless you were really good at it. Okay, it's fine to do it. If we need the damage, if we end up needing it, we can do it. But remember, the damage doesn't matter until this number says 40%. Once this number says 40%, then it's worth it to be risky. The other thing that he has... What were you going to say, Quizzy?
Did they change it? Because you used to, well, when we did it on testing in normal, whatever, you could just stand next to where it was going to go. You didn't have to be next line.
But you had to be super close.
I think that's probably why it felt inconsistent.
Yeah, it's inconsistent because you're supposed to be in it, but I do know that some people were standing next to it. But just keep in mind, your damage doesn't matter until the boss hits 40%, so there's realistically no reason to do it until it's at 40%, and then if we need the damage, then fuck it, go for it.
I don't even know if it keeps doing the coin mechanic when it hits 40.
He does.
It starts doing it. Does it?
Yeah, he'll roll some. Okay.
Because the coin mechanic has like a wipe mechanic tied to it, kind of.
So you'll see that he has some real assistants that are with him. They're actually just fucking like there for flavor at the beginning of the fight. So you can just kill them. I mean, hit the boss and just cleave onto them. They don't matter at all. Like actually at all. Use them for funnel. New Havoc Demon Hunter. It gets to funnel stuff. Crazy. And then he's going to start the actual mechanics at this point in the fight. So he's going to spawn these 3 ads that all have a sign over their head, and they also have unique names. So you see this guy is the coin, this guy is the shock, this guy is the flame. How this works is you kill 2 of the 3. You cannot kill all 3 because after you kill 2, the 3rd one goes damage immune. So what you're going to do is we are going to go ahead and grab, remember I'm talking about heroic, not mythic, FYI. Speaking of, let me actually just swap to heroic one-armed bandit. Hopefully they killed it. I don't know if they did. Zetlock should know.
I think we did. Pretty sure we did.
So he's just picking up the coins and throwing them. I'll talk about that in a second. But you see that these 3 have the signs above their head. And we are going to kill... This is supposed to be the gambling boss. Unfortunately, while the positions they spawn in are random, it spawns the same symbols every time. So the positioning is different. Symbols are technically the same to where you can do the same thing every single time if you want to. There's no difference. So for our purposes, we will be doing this order. Flame and coin, coin and bomb, shock and flame, shock and bomb. You don't need to remember that. So you can delete it from your brain now. But for those that were curious. So basically how this works is we kill 1, and then it'll drop a coin on the ground. Someone's going to pick up the coin. I don't care who. And then we're going to slot the coin into the one-armed bandit. It's going to do a little bit of raid damage. Then we're going to kill the second one. We're going to pick up his coin. And then we're going to slot the coin into the one-armed bandit when I call for it. Because you do not... The first coin can just be slotted in right whenever you get it. I might even call for that one, just depending on how much damage this is actually doing on heroic. If it's doing a lot, I'll call when to put the first one in, because it does raid damage whenever you put them in. And then it applies a vulnerability for a couple seconds, so you can't just like smack, smack, right? You have to smack, and then wait a couple seconds and smack. So, and which coins you put in determine what mechanics it's going to do. So I believe they just put in flame and shock. Shock is the most annoying of the mechanics, but I'll show you why. Oh no, they didn't. They put in flame and bomb. So, or flame and coin. So they put in the ones that we're actually going to put in here. So this will be our first target. And what that means is he is going to, oh yeah, on heroic, actually, you can kill this 3rd guy. So on heroic, finish off this 3rd guy whenever he's, whenever we do the other 2, just to make sure he's not there. Flame and coin, guess what it does? Literally nothing unless you're a healer. So, you just keep hitting the boss, and then he's going to spawn more ads. Okay? So that's how this fight works, is we put in stuff, he spawns ads, everything is pretty locked down. So the flame usually will spawn some dodges, the coin does raid damage, and the shock is going to spawn a pylon, which is the only annoying mechanic this guy has. But let's talk about the coins real quick. So remember how we talked about these coins? They put the little circle or the indicator on the ground, which probably has a different indicator now, so don't memorize this indicator. It might be the same, it might not. What you actually need to do, you see Banchers is following this coin. I'm sure he's about to go grab it. They're going to explode against the wall whenever they get there. And then you need to pick it up once. Any range can do this. We're going to primarily have our hunters doing this for heroic. But any range can. Hunters, mages, warlocks, whatever. You guys are going to go pick up the coin, and you just throw it against the wall. So you see Panchers threw that one against the wall. This guy picked up the coin, threw it against the wall. That way it doesn't explode on the raid. The reason why you have to do that is until you pick up the coin and flip it to the other side by picking it up and throwing it into the wall. After the boss throws it, it will stay on the ground, and then it will pulse raid damage, and then it will kill you over time. So you have to pick it up, and you have to throw it again. And just like this, for people again, hunters, mages, most likely are going to be the primary ones doing this. You walk next to it, you walk into it, you press the extra action button, it throws it. Very good, very good. And you get the buff no matter what, if you're the one who throws it. So honestly, not too bad for you. That's it. So then we get they just put in shock and flame. So let's show you the shock mechanic. Waiting for it to go down. Okay, there it is. So you can see that it spawned this coil on the side of the room. Okay, we can't see because he's doing coins. By the way, the tank buster on this fight is just called the big hit, and it puts a puddle on the ground. So just make sure you can do what that guy did. The boss does not move while he's channeling it, so you can just run out and drop it in the same spot on heroic. So here is this coil. And what you're going to notice is after a little bit, this coil should start attaching itself to a player. Soon, TM. Did it?
Yeah, it's polling people.
Did it not?
It's just that the poll is super like low.
Really? Huh. Okay.
Yeah,
well,
on heroic it's negligible right now.
So how these coils work, I'm guessing on heroic they don't really matter. On mythic they do, but for heroic they pull you in slightly. They, I believe it's the bomb one that will attach itself to somebody and it just will do damage to them. So you just need to watch your health. And it can be cleared by, I believe the big hit can clear these coils or overload the coils and then they go away. I believe that's it. So you don't really want to deal with these coils because they do damage. So you see actually there was a beam coming out of it there is doing damage to somebody. They're the only like actual thing. And you can see reward flame basically just does some swirlies. And then the reward bomb spawns these little fixate ads. These fixate ads are going to run to somebody and you need to just nuke them down before they explode or before they get to you. Cool. Cool. So then once the boss hits 40%, the actual fight starts where now the damage you do matters. So let me go to where the boss hits 40. So the boss is going to hit 40 and he's going to start channeling. By the way, most of the damage in this fight is heal absorbs. So just keep that in mind. Your health might look high, but make sure you check how big your heal absorb is. The boss is going to start channeling Rig the Game any second now. Any second. Okay, so the boss bugged out or spell queued or something here, so that's kind of weird. But he starts casting Rig the Game. And what that means is now instead of having the ads, now it is a burn phase to the end of the fight where he's going to start spamming out all of the different mechanics. So you have to dodge. He's going to spawn the little pylons that you have to deal with and get sucked into and will hit you. He's going to start spawning these coins faster. He's going to knock you back every time he does a tank buster. So all you have to do during this phase, it's just a burn phase. So you see this coil is attached to somebody. It's hitting them really hard. This is what I was talking about here. So finally we can see it. Just if you get targeted by this, watch your health. It might be... Oh, never mind. That's right. That was the first incarnation of Dungeon Journal. It attaches itself to the boss, and if you were in between the boss and the coils, it kills you. This is a laser beam that you don't touch that attaches itself to the boss. Sorry, what's getting that mixed up with Stix. But yeah, that's it. So it's just a damage burn phase. Don't be in between him and the coils. Very cool. Gucci. Mwah. That's it. That's the boss. Makes sense? Any questions, comments, concerns on that?
I think like the deadliest part for melee is gonna be that beam spawning, because I think that like 3 or 4 people died in that first set spawning.
You're talking about the
beam,
yeah,
death beam.
Just
Also
watch
the
never be between the boss and a coil whenever he phases.
I don't know if they changed the coin like graphics, that's good. But if they didn't, melee has to be really careful with that because it targets the raid like a random player, and like in the middle of the fight, it's kind of hard to see if you're in melee.
Yep.
And even if it doesn't kill you, you get stunned for like 5 or 10 seconds.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about Mugzee. We're not going to talk about Mugzee much, though. And the reason why is there really isn't a single good VOD of Mugzee testing.
Yeah, true.
So Mugzee is... I don't know if this is going to be considered a good boss or a bad boss. We don't really have enough info on it yet. But for Mugzee, here's what happens. There is the Mug side, and there is the Z side. The Mug side is this little steel area. The Z side is this little, like, honeycomb bee area looking thing. We're going to start on the Mug side. And actually, let me go ahead and change to normal Mugzee kill. So here we go. So we are going to start on the Mug side, which is the steel side. The steel side has a few mechanics. First, it's going to spawn these electroshock drones. There is another one that you cannot see that is off screen right now over here. All of the range, you're going to be smacking the electroshock drone that spawns right over here first. Melee, you are going to smack the electroshock drone that spawns right here, along with the boss. You're focusing the electroshocker, cleaving onto the boss during this time. Range, same thing. You're focusing the electroshocker, cleaving onto the boss if you can. If you can't, L. And then we are going to try, if we have enough damage, we're going to move to the wall right after this tanks. We might not have enough time. We'll see. The reason why is because he is going to spawn these unstable crawler mines. These unstable crawler mines are fixate ads that you aren't supposed to kill. You're supposed to let them get to you. So you see that one gets to him and it explodes. And it spawns these little mini soaks. So everyone needs to make sure you're watching for the mini soaks. It does not apply a vulnerability to you. So you don't have to worry about it applying a vuln. All we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing them slowly, one by one by one. And then we're going to be soaking each as we go. There's also this frontal mechanic that you have to get away from, and it will target one player. You can shoot that frontal mechanic towards an ad that's on the other side. We'll talk about that in a bit. You can also shoot this frontal mechanic towards an ad that is on the other side. You saw the soak go out. We'll have range soak that. You don't need everybody to soak that. And then we're going to cross over into the other side. We're crossing over every, mechanic set, basically. So after he does one set of mines, one set of soak, one set of blah, 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 then we're crossing over. Then here, we're on the red side. So on the red side, every time he walks over on Heroic Plus, he's going to start casting a raid damage pulse for the first 20 seconds that you're on the side. The last 10 seconds on the side are pretty chill. And then he's going to target 2 players with these gales. Don't call them gales. They're actually pronounced jail. It's just a old school way of spelling it. But he's going to spawn these 2 jails. These need to be soaked by 2 groups that are predetermined. If you're wondering who those are, it's the Goon Cave group and the Goon Temple group. So the Goon Cave group is Justin, Galg, me, Strutile, Lake, and Vincent. And the Goon Temple group is Buddhas, Topdam, Lanthan, Ochain, Quizzy, and Crow. And the Goon Cave group will be on... probably going to use blue and triangle for these, and we're going to be moving these markers around. So if we go back to this Mugzee kill, you see how there's 2 markers here. You place them on the 2 markers and you soak them. So Goon Cave will be blue, Goon Temple will be triangle, most likely. And then you're inside of this guy that casts Shakedown. You want to nuke this ad down, and once he does, you'll be broken out of the jail. This frontal is kind of hard to see, but he just basically frontals one of these walls every single time. So he's going to turn, he's frontaling. So just watch it, make sure you move out of the frontal. It's pretty quick. The reason why I'm calling them the Goon Cave and the Goon Tempo is these are Galagio goons, by the way. So I thought it would be funny, hee hee. And then he breaks you out. The other thing that's happening during this time is these Frostfire Spears. Do you guys remember Sinarth? Well... they reuse the Sinarth slip and slide mechanic here. He's going to target random people. They're slipping and sliding, gliding and gliding all around the arena, and they get this spear that is targeting them. You need to use the walls of the Goon Cave and Goon Temple to block the spear, or if you're unable to do that, you're going to have to press an immunity or put it through the boss, or else you will die on Heroic. On normal, doesn't matter. You can just eat it to the face like those guys do. Or you can have somebody with an immunity block it just like that. And after we break out of these Goon Cave and Goon Temples, then I'm not sure if they're going to stay here for one more round. They are going to stay here for one more round. It just does the same thing again. And then we move over to the other side. So they actually messed up here because they waited too long and he reached max energy. So they got a stack, but it doesn't matter because it's on normal. One thing that happens during this is the Tank Buster. So we want to be we want the tank, so the boss needs to be placed in between these 2 jails right here, just how they have it. And we want a little bit of space in between these jails so that the tank can walk through. And the tank is going to sit right here He's going to get tank bustered, and then the tank buster drops this puddle along the ground, and you're just going to run all the way along the side of the arena and cry yourself to sleep that you can never hit the boss. And then you run back on the boss afterwards. The other tank will be standing right here, and he'll be chilling, waiting for the tank swap to happen. And that is everything in P1 for now. Does anyone have any questions, comments, concerns on that? Cool. Then he's going to go into an intermission. It's a really weird intermission, as it was on normal, but we've only seen it on normal because nobody saw it on heroic. So again, none of the damage you do to this boss matters until he hits 40%. It does not affect the enrage. It does not affect timers. It only affects how long the fight is going on. So the only possible thing that could be a problem is if, let's say, you're waiting on cooldowns, so you're purposefully letting him sit at high or at low HP without moving, or your healers are running out of mana. So you need to do a little bit more damage so that they don't run out of mana. But once the boss hits 40%, once again, the real fight starts. He's going to go into intermission, and he has two things he does inside of intermission. He will start doing all of the mechanics of the fight after the intermission, but during intermission, he has a charge. Here you go. So you see the static charge here. This needs to be soaked by the entire raid. There is not a vulnerability, as far as I know. And then he starts doing Bullet Storm, which just is like the Bloodbound Beam, except it looks cooler. So you can be like, ooh, Bloodbound Beam, ooh, and think that it looks cool, and then he does the charge again. So here he goes, charging again, get in it, soak it, just like the Council of Dreams charge, same thing. You soak that thing up, does the Bloodbound Beam, rotate around the room. There you go. Then he's going to go into phase 2 after doing that 3 times, and he literally casts Bloodlust on himself. So he casts Bloodlust, and he does every single mechanic on both of the sides at the same time. Now, because he's doing both of them on the same time, and it doesn't matter which side of the room you're on, for normal and heroic, not talking about Mythic again. Mythic is an absolute nightmare for this phase. We're not going to talk about that. We actually can use these unstable crawler mines, and we can pull them in to the walls of the goon caves and goon temples. So you see, boom, pulled it into the wall, it exploded the mine, and it broke open the cave. You still need to kill the goons. They actually have a DPS check on them. If they do not die in time, then they will cast something that will kill you. So make sure that we're still killing them, even though we're breaking out using the mines, and make sure we do the mini soaks. And he'll just continue doing that the entire time. Again, if you get a spear, you want to try and use this here. This double whammy shot, there's going to be a small rocket casting ad on heroic that you want to point it towards, and then it will break a shield and allow that ad to be killed. All we have to do is just kill that ad. Tanks, this Storm Fury finger guns, there will also be ads. You want to point it towards the ads because it breaks their shield as well. And then, like I said, range will be soaking this. Melee, you do not have to soak this. And that's it. That's all the mechanics. That's P2. That's intermission. Any questions, comments, concerns?
That frontal, isn't that just soaked by a tank, but it's targeted by a DPS or healer?
Are you talking about
soaks it for them?
Yes. This you're talking about this line? Or are you talking about the frontal itself?
The frontal.
The frontal itself is not soaked by anyone, I don't believe.
I thought there was one mechanic where tanks soak it.
That's you're thinking of the spear that you can soak, and you're thinking of this mechanic, which can be soaked. So you see how the tank is standing in front right here?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, so this line right here, the tank can soak, or it can be soaked by the ad. So those are the two ways that it can be soaked.
Gotcha.
All right, all good?
Yep.
Okay. I am going to very briefly talk about Gallywix, but not much. Okay. Actually, the ready check pull guide for Gallywix is quite close to my prediction for this boss on heroic. But here's the thing. This boss is blatantly a secret mythic phase boss with probably 2 secret mythic phases. So how this boss is currently in the dungeon journal is intermission and heroic P3 are where the boss starts on mythic. And then there is nothing else in the journal as of now. So that means they're pretty clearly telling the community that, hey, there's something going on this boss, which is exciting. But so just keep that in mind for Heroic. It will not look like it's on Mythic. At least the Race to World First will be hype. So you get to tune in and watch that. Very happy that Blizzard did that because finally it's like a little bone thrown to the Mythic community. Anyways, Gallywix on Heroic. It has pretty much two big mechanics. So there's a lot of dodges. There's a lot of tank mechanics. Like a lot of tank mechanics, which I will talk with tanks separately about on another day. And then there are just like standard like get out, spread, bait mechanics. But the primary mechanic of every single phase is a ad is going to fly in. You kill the ad. He drops a bomb. Someone picks up the bomb and brings it to one of these corners. That's basically all there is to P1 and P2 Gallywix. Is there'll be this bomb. You have to either pick it up in P1 and soak it, or in P2, what you're going to do is there'll be an ad. You kill the ad, and then you pick up the bomb that it drops and you bring it to one of these corners and blow it up. That's all there is to P1 and P2 Gallywix as far as like things you really need to know. So, and then whenever we put two bombs on one side, he'll block off that side of the room. And then he's going to go into intermission, which is just a dodging intermission. He currently does not. He did have a 99% DR during this intermission at one point, but they changed it. And now he has a absorb shield, just like Ansarek intermission, which you have to nuke. This is health-based, not timer-based, as it currently is in the Dungeon Journal. So we're going to assume this is going to stay health-based. And this is where the fight starts on Mythic, by the way. In P3, it is basically the same thing, but he makes all of the mechanics more dangerous. So you have the same ads, you have the same like tank mechanics happening, except all 6 tank mechanics are happening at once. Instead of being like 3 in P1, 3 in P2. I actually think this will probably end up being the best tank fight of all time. The tank mechanics are really unique and interesting, so that's cool. But you're DPS players mostly in this call, so you actually just don't give a fuck. But basically, it's just always these bombs. And in P3, there's going to be 2 types of bombs. One of the bombs needs to be soaked. One of the bombs needs to be picked up and brought to a corner. And we need to bring it to the correct corner, or else it'll block off that side of the room. But that's as much info as I'll give you on Gallywix until we actually see the boss, just so that you have a little idea of what's going to happen. It looks simple in the journal on Heroic, which makes sense because the Mythic version of the boss seems to be mostly Mythic only, which would usually mean that the Heroic version of the boss will be easier than normal. Now, technically, that's not guaranteed, but very, very likely. Any questions, comments, concerns on any of the bosses that we talked about?
Does the floor break?
On Heroic, I highly doubt the floor breaks. On Mythic, though, you never know. He might break the floor.
So do we have someone we're assigning to be benched when that happens for you to come in?
No.
Or is this going to be a coin flip?
I don't know the 20-man yet, so...
You should just fucking wheel
I
decide
think
day
long
of.
man.
I actually had one question about
Eat my ass.
Okay.
Hey, long name's got to make the 20-man first.
The you said that it doesn't matter until 40%, and I was looking for like, does he heal himself? Is it just because it's in rage and that's when we pop lust, or like?
Just think of it like
Why are DPS cosmetic?
Just think of it like Clairdar. You hit 40%, and then there's a DPS check.
Basically,
and he wipes you after a certain amount of time.
Why it doesn't matter until 40% for both Mugzee and One-Armed Bandit is the enrage timer doesn't start until the boss hits 40%. So there is no enrage. You can be in the beginning of the fight infinitely. It does not matter. So technically, the way that it enrages, if you fail the mechanics, then it enrages, quote unquote. But There is no enrage on Mugzee and One-Armed Bandit until they hit 40%, and then the enrage timer begins. So that means that your DPS check is only from 40% to 0, not 100% to 0. Does that make sense?
Okay, that makes sense, yes.
Push the
Now,
Fico bird.
I'm assuming that doesn't necessarily mean I want to hold all of my cooldowns from the start of the fight to enrage.
Not from the start, but if, say, we're getting close to enrage on both of those fights, particularly Mugzee, we will actually hold damage until everyone in the raid has cooldowns, and then we will piss on the boss, and we will nuke it from 40 down as low as we can, as fast as we can. Also, obviously, because 40 to 0 is the only part that matters, we will be lusting both of those bosses at 40%.
Makes sense. Okay. I was just trying to get some clarification on that. I'm like, wait, why is it irrelevant entirely?
It's not technically your healers could run out of mana and you're having to deal with more sets of mechanics, but that's not actually true for One-Armed Bandit as it was on testing. I'm guessing they probably changed that because as One-Armed Bandit was on testing, actually what happened is he did 3 sets of his mechanics and then he just did nothing until he hit 40%. I'm guessing that's been changed because that doesn't make any sense.
I thought he enrages after you use up all the combos. Because if you don't put a combo in, he kills you, and you can't put in.
I guess
the
that's
combo
technically
twice.
true, but he just wasn't killing people on testing. I remember watching that testing
Oh.
VOD. So yeah. What did you have, Kami?
I was just gonna ask, but I don't think it'll matter because it'll push before. But isn't like after 6 combos he enters P2 or 40%?
Yes, but that's not like a realistic damage check. Okay. So in review, we just did all of our assignment preferences. I reminded you about how we do loot. We are raiding Mondays for the first 3 weeks of the season at our normal raid time. We will be going into heroic we'll be going into normal first, into heroic. If Gallywix is tuned hard, then we will walk into mythic and do the first 2 before killing heroic Gallywix. If Gallywix is tuned easy, we'll go ahead and kill heroic Gallywix first for fun, and then do the first 2 mythic on Monday. You can get into the roster at any time as long as you perform well during week 1. Your previous performance will not hold you down. It can only make you look nicer by about 5 to 10%. We'll be using Northern Skies Weak Aura Pack. Make sure that you prep as efficiently as you can because that's where you're going to get a step up on the rest of the competition. If you want to become a Hall of Famer or top 100 World Raider, that's not going to be changed by how you play in-game. It's going to be changed by how you prep out of game with us being a lower hour guild. You should set up Warcraft Recorder. The people who said that they were down for me to use their POV, I will be sending information out on Parsec soon. I will put all of the information on all of the bosses that we talked about into raid strategies for every single boss. And one other thing I forgot to mention is for the entire tier, I am actually going to be sharing my screen. If you have a second monitor, please just have my screen share on your second monitor. I will have a screen shared that will be reviewing the bosses, every single pull, and going over what we wiped to, what we need to fix to make that not happen again. And that way we can pull very quickly, very fast, and you just have my screen on your other monitor ready to be able to look at that stuff. So just have that there. That's what I'm going to be doing the entire tier. I will always have my screen shared, except for maybe on Heroic, I might not need to. But I'm actually bought a third monitor specifically for the purpose of that being the monitor that you guys see, and you can just watch it the entire time, and I will put stuff on there that you need to see, and we'll talk about it after pulls. Otherwise, that is literally everything. I hope you all are as excited to get into the new tier as I am, and I will be finishing out the one-on-ones very quickly this entire weekend, starting probably tomorrow. If you have not signed up for the optional raid clear and you would like to go, please sign up now. We do need a tank because Abrix is out of the country, so he will not be back in time. This will be recorded and posted to YouTube for anyone who missed a little bit of it. And that's it. You guys have a fantastic night. Thanks for coming. And let me know if you have any questions. Feel free. Officer DMs are always open, and my DMs are as well. All right, bye-bye. You're free to leave. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
I'm not fucking leaving.
Who's the first one?
I feel like I should clap.
Yo, anyone want to party up and go roll around the Undermine in their car?
I wish I could. Oh, actually, maybe I can now.
Roll around
wonder
the
if there's, like,
Undermine.
Do you have to go through Undermine to be able to go into the raid?
We start a car gang.
You can't go into the. Oh wait, you
Dude,
mean
I'm
like?
telling you.
You mean Wayne's gonna be up?
Yeah, by the time the raid's up, like
Guild Cartel Gang Wars, dude.
I think you should do the campaign because it's gonna get you a heroic crest at the end of it.
Yeah, the campaign should give you a heroic crest, and at renown 20, there is also a enchanted heroic crest at the end. But don't go out and do degenerate shit to grind that out. It is not a big deal. This week, genuinely, if you want my like professional advice for this week, have fun and play the game. That's it. There's literally
complete the campaign.
There is
Alex
nothing
not
for
playing
you
anymore.
to do.
Someone's got to pick up the slack. Okay.
We can't even complete the campaign right now,
Someone's
right?
gotta keep the frogs under control, you know.
Yeah.
Well, Kami, you're the only tank here, but I will be talking to tanks on Monday night. Healers, if you're available on Sunday night, I'm going to meet with you guys separately, and we're going to talk through the current plans for all the bosses. If you guys